She's as crazy as the old man.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you've not seen me before. This is a book review I'm doing that relates to June on the Range. So June on the Range is an awesome event that's created by Michael K. Vaughan where we read westerns. Last year I took part and I read 2 books, and Sisters, Brothers and Shane. This year I've read 2 books so far. I want to get a 3rd one in, but this one is a real significant one. So I did know about the book before, and I'm reading it this month because I've heard so much great things about it, and I did know the 2 film adaptations. So this is True Grit by Charles Portis. True Grit. The book came out in 1968, and immediately, literally 1969, there was a film made of it. I mean, it's a very cinematic book. It's a very visual book, and I think it's not a massive surprise they decided to make a film so quickly. But they made a film in 1969, and it's a very applauded, classic, well-respected Western. Very important role for John Wayne in 1969. The film stars John Wayne and Glenn Campbell. They're the 2 biggest names in the film. Robert Duvall's in it as well. And it's a really good film. And it does, some of it is a lot like, some of the dialogue's exactly the same as the book. And it's definitely has a lot of connections to the book. And it's a great film. And Rooster Cogburn, the gunslinger that the marshal that John Wayne plays in 1969 version, and a big part of the book. John Wayne actually played him 3 times, so there was sort of a couple of instances. Once with Katharine Hepburn. So yeah, that film is a very important classic Western. And then in 2010, the Coen brothers decided to do their version, and that had Jeff Bridges as Rooster Cogburn. I was really excited about their adaptation because I'm a massive Coen brothers fan anyway, and Jeff Bridges is probably my favourite actor. So there's a few actors hovering around that could also be like people like Sam Rockwell. I love loads as well, but Jeff Bridges I particularly like a lot. So I thought it was great that they chose him for Rooster Cogburn. Yeah, you know, I really did love that film, and Matt Damon I really like as well, and he plays LaBeouf, who is a very important character in it as well, and Josh Brolin's in it, and Haley Steinfeld, I think her name is, she plays Mattie, she plays Mattie, who is the main character of the book, and Kim Darby plays her in the original version, but Haley Steinfeld, I'm sorry if I got her name wrong. I should have double-checked the name. She has become a massive name now. So she did True Grit when she was 13, and she does a phenomenal job in the film. And she's done loads and loads of stuff since. One of the most recent things I've seen her in, probably the most recent thing I've seen her in, was the Marvel series Hawkeye, where she played Kate Bishop. And she was brilliant in that. But she clearly must have a big name now, because when that series started, my son said he was a bit irritated that they cast her because she was everywhere. He said, I hadn't seen her in everything, but he said she's everywhere. So clearly she's done really well, which is great because she's a really good actress. So anyway, those were the 2 film adaptations. So I didn't know about them, but I hadn't read it yet. And I've now read it, and it is so good. It is so good. It's a brilliant book. It's really moving book. It's beautifully written. It's not particularly long. It's not got particularly poetic prose or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward, but it's just really, really good. So I've got a few things I want to bounce off. So I'll start off with the pacing and the plotting. The pacing is perfect. So it starts off, as I said, it's in first person. So she's recounting the story, and she tells you straight away, setting up the plot. She tells you straight away that she wants to avenge the death of her father, who was killed by someone called Tom Chaney, and she wants to find him, and she needs to get somebody to help her find him and kill him. So she wants to find someone with true grit, and she's heard that a marshal called Rooster Cogburn has true grit, so she finds him and asks him to do the job. And LaBeouf, played by Matt Damon in the last film, and Glenn Campbell in the original film, he wants to go on the hunt for different reasons, and his motivation is different, and there's a little bit of it's like a reluctant relationship, reluctant partnership. The three of them kind of carry the narrative. The three of them are they're in most of the scenes. They dominate the book, and they dominate the narrative, and they're not like best buddies or anything. And there's a bit of a spiky relationship which works really well. So that's the plot. It's a very simple plot, but it's made more complicated and more interesting and more complex and layered by the people that are in it and the way it's written. And the pacing is so good because you get this set up, and then in quite a relaxed, casual way, they start the mission, if you like, and then they decide to go and hunt down Tom Chaney. And then there's a couple of big set pieces. There's a huge confrontation at the end, which is predictable, but the details of the confrontation are not predictable. The way it actually plays out is quite unusual, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And I think it's done really well. There's a few unexpected moments in it, and the plot never slows down. It never becomes dry. It never becomes overdone. It's never exaggerated. It's very. The whole thing is quite real, I think, which brings me to the characters and the dialogue. So, as I said, these three characters dominate the book for very good reasons. They're together for a lot of it, but also the way that they start the mission is by agreeing to work together. Well, actually, not really agreeing to work together, but just the book has brought them together, and they're not actually agreeing to work together. And there's a little bit of tension in there, and they don't like the fact they've got to look after this girl, and she doesn't like the fact that she's not got their undivided loyalty or whatever. And you know, all that's done really well. And the dialogue is beautifully written, so real, very well-rounded characters. And actually, the villains are sort of fully characterized as well. So there's a number of them, because it's not just Tom Chaney, played there by Josh Brolin in the newest film. It's not just Tom Chaney. There's a few other characters. There's a Lucky Ned who is someone that Rooster Cogburn's been after for a while as well. He's a really important plot point. A very big moment in the book is concerning Lucky Ned as well. So he's a big kind of villain in it as well. But the whole way that the characters work together is beautifully written, absolutely brilliant. And a lot of that is down to the dialogue. So the dialogue really grips you. It's very compelling, and as I said, it's very sort of spiky at times. There's a bit of sort of upmanship, one-upmanship, and sort of sarcasm, and sort of boastfulness, and there's just all these different things that kind of bring out the characters in the dialogue. But yeah, really, really brilliantly done, and drives the plot in a lot of ways. And then the ending is again quite unexpected, because you've got this big confrontation, which I won't spoil it by telling you why it happens like it does and what happens, but there's a really nice epilogue after the confrontation where you get to see what happened after all that happened. So there's you know, I mean, Mattie is very young in the book, and I mean the actress was 13 when she played her in this version of it. I think the actress was a bit older in the original film, but she is definitely that kind of age in the book. And one of the things that's interesting about Mattie's character is that she's one of those people that's sort of older than her age. She's got this maturity about her, as well as this beautifully complex written innocence as well. So there's like this maturity mixed in with this innocence. She's so feisty, and she seems kind of almost like so formidable that you think, oh, she'll be okay. But then again, I'm not going to spoil it, but she's not quite as indestructible as her dialogue and her confidence and her demands that she makes on the other characters would make you believe. So I think that's just brilliant. And I really like it when you have especially female kind of child actors or teenage characters, characters or teenage characters that have got this forcefulness and have got this confidence. And you just think, whoa, where's this person from, you know? And it's just really cool. So there's a couple of other examples I was thinking about when I was thinking about what I was going to say about the book. They're actually from TV and films. So you've got people like Ellie from The Last of Us. So if you know the game or you've seen the series, her character is one of those characters that doesn't take any crap, but also is can be quite vulnerable as well, and clearly wouldn't be able to handle a really serious situation, but thinks she can, you know, and so there's that sort of element. And like also you could say that there are some elements of that with Judith from The Walking Dead. So Rick's daughter, who grows up to be quite feisty and sort of, you know, has got this confidence with a gun. And, you know, I loved all that. I loved watching Judith grow up in the series. And the same sort of thing with this. So it's just really awesome seeing Mattie so confident, and the way that she spoke to the others was like she wasn't going to take a no for an answer for a start. She wasn't going to take any crap from Tom Chaney, and she wanted to avenge her father's death, and what she goes through to make sure it happens is brilliant and powerful, moving, and, you know, a great moment in characterization, and you know, she's carrying the book, and it's just a great character to carry a book, you know. So yeah, I think her character arc is really interesting, and the way that she the way that they both are, they kind of, well, Rooster Cogburn accepts the job. LaBeouf is doing it for completely different reasons, and he's just around for different reasons, which I won't spoil, but he's not there to just be Rooster Cogburn's sidekick or whatever. And she is like arguing with him a lot and trying to sort of dominate the conversation while they're thinking you're just some little girl, what you want about. And it's just, you know, there's an understanding that gets met through the book, and there's a development in their characters and all of their characters that I think is great. And actually, Tom Chaney's dialogue is really interesting as well, because he's quite he's not an archetypal black and white two-dimensional villain. He keeps saying this phrase like, "Oh, things aren't going well for me," something like that, and it's like he's very downbeat. And for a villain, I mean, there's a few villains in it. There's like a guy called Lucky Ned, like I think I said earlier, but he's the reason why she wants to go on this journey to avenge her father's death. He's the reason, but his character isn't that sort of, you know, mustache twirling villain. It's just an unexpected portrayal of that kind of villain. So I think that's really interesting as well. So there's all sorts of ways that this book surprises you. And it's really well written. It's very short, but there's a lot in it. And I really enjoyed it. It was a really interesting experience. I didn't want to put it down. Whenever I put it down because of having to put it down, I was gutted. I wanted to pick it up again. And I wanted to see what was going to happen next. Was she going to get there? Were they going to work together? Were they going to work for her? You know, all sorts of different things I can say that would spoil it. But yeah, really good book. Really, really good book. So there we are. True Grit. Couldn't recommend it enough. And Dune on the Range is awesome because it makes you go out your comfort zone. I want to try and get one more in before I leave Dune on the Range for this year. But and I've got a Zane Grey book and I've got a Louis L'Amour book. So what do? But in the meantime, that was fantastic. So I definitely recommend it. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.
Picture of what it's like to be